One of the most expected retail events of the year happened this June in Singapore. And yes, I'm talking about NRF APAC. The event that happens every January in New York, National Retail Federation's big show, has a complementary new home in the hottest region of economic growth in the world, Asia Pacific. The first edition took place from June 11th to 13th of 2024, just a few weeks ago, and it was an excellent opportunity to be there. This episode is dedicated to sharing everything that I've seen, everything that I've learned with you. Here is Paula Macadi, and this is episode 27 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. The country chosen to be the home of NRF's international debut was Singapore, also known as the City of Lights, Red Dot, or Lion City, which comes from Singapura in Malay, that gives the origin of its name. Singapore's population accounts to almost 6 million people according to the Economic Times. It is clean, modern, multicultural, and a lot hotter than I expected. The AC was my best friend there, and it made me understand why the country has 177 shopping malls, which is where most of their stores live. It was very hard for me to be outside because of the heat, but they make sure the inside is very, very pleasant. Starting with the airport. I've seen many times videos and photos of the airport, but it was only when I was there that I understood how magnificent that is and why they won as the best airport so many times. Attached to the airport, there's a mall with hundreds of stores, but the main attraction is the Jewel, which is an indoor forest with a beautiful waterfall in the center. Ian Scott, an expert in retail and customer experience who was also there, also shared how amazing that was.
It is the most stunning space that you can imagine. Huge circular area. I think there are 3 tiers of shopping in a circle, and then in the center is this huge glass dome that curves in the middle with a waterfall dropping down, and all the walls are covered in trees. And then I noticed, after I've been watching for a few minutes, there's 2 little trains, connecting trains that cross over almost underneath the waterfall. So it's a whole amazing, stunning experience. You just stand there going, this is a shopping mall, you know, and this water's coming in, I don't know, 30, 40 meters up in the air and cascading right through the center of it. And it's just one of those things, you know, for a city and a country that is very limited space, they will create these beautiful, spacious areas and invest in just making it enjoyable and stunning and making you want to return.
And what is actually very special about it, being in the airport, is that usually airports are places of stress and I always have a hard time appreciating my moments. But Changi Airport was actually the opposite. It makes you want to go 12 hours before your flight so you can actually enjoy it.
A horrendous journey getting to and from Singapore. I think I had 7 different airports, and 6 of them were terrible. And you know, my last one was Singapore, leaving, I think it's at Changi Airport it's called. First of all, the space inside the airport, once you were checked in, was really relaxing. There was an amazing couple of spaces where they had trees and almost like a little pond, and you could walk on acrylic or glass covers and see all the goldfish underneath. And then you looked up at the ceiling and there was a whole ceiling full of video screens, and you could hear the sound of thunder, and you looked up and you could see raindrops on the content. And you were just walking, and this must have been 20 meters long by 15 meters wide, and I saw 2 of these. And they were just an experiential space to walk around and enjoy. And what I loved was, you know, you have this artificial environment in an airport. They call it the golden hour. You've checked in, you're waiting for your flight, you're captive and bored. So the retail is a completely different buying experience to walking along the high street where you choose to go. You don't choose to go shopping in an airport. You're stopped for an hour, so shops are one of the things you can do. So the engagement is completely different. There's a lot more browsing and curiosity and less mission-based retail. And so what I love was these beautiful spaces with the screens and the sounds. It was just something else you could do in the space.
With the airport being our first retail attraction before NRF, Marina Bay Sands was the next. One of the most iconic buildings in the world is Marina Bay Sands. I'm sure you've seen pictures. It has 3 towers and what it looks like a ship on top of them. But that is actually a complex that includes a mall with many high-end stores, many food options, a casino, and a convention center where NRF APAC happened. While at the event, I talked with Ryf Quail, the Managing Director of Comexposium, and he told me how the idea got started.
We began this journey a long time ago, before COVID. Comexposium, we're a global organiser, French by origin, and we were engaging with the NRF with their ambition to globalise the show. It's a 113-year-old trade show. The NRF is one of the oldest retail associations anywhere in the world. And so when they approached us, they had a view that they would look to come to Europe or come to Asia Pacific and bring the brand beyond the borders of the US. Fast forward to 2023, we announced the big show in New York, and with the view of launching it in Asia Pacific.
He shared that the reason behind choosing APAC is really because of its growth and incredible potential. And despite having many retail events across the region, there wasn't really one that embraced all of them in one place.
When we unpicked it a little bit more, we could see that within 2020 to 2030, 3.49 billion people would join the middle class in Asia Pacific. It is the biggest retail marketplace in the world, but it's also the most diverse. So the challenge here was very much around, understanding what were the common issues, and that's the challenge for all retailers. So the connection was really about size, it was about scale, but the challenge of actually being a retailer across the region.
The show had 5,500 attendees from 52 different countries and 238 exhibitors, which are impressive numbers for the first event. While the presentations were mostly held in English, there were translators to key languages.
The second biggest country here attending is Japan. A huge population from Japan, and I was laughing this morning because the translation sets outside the conference room are obviously Japanese, Mandarin and Portuguese, and the Japanese are all here early to get the translation kit, so we know that we can always start on time because they're in the room.
For me, one of the most expected presentations was from Simon Kemp. He is the chief analyst of Data Reportal and founder of Kemp. He says that his job is to help everyone understand what the world is really doing on the internet. He started the presentation showing that internet users are now the supermajority in the world. Now 67.1% of the world population is connected, which means that 5.44 billion people access the internet. And well over half of the world's internet users live within Asia Pacific region, and the region is also home of the most active online shoppers. Now here comes some interesting data to give the opportunity perspective in the region. The United States has 122 million online weekly shoppers. China has 452 million. However, with respective 2.5% and 1.5% year-on-year growth. India has 257 million online weekly shoppers, with almost 8% year-on-year growth. And Southeast Asia has 176 million, with 6.5% year-on-year growth. Can you smell the opportunity here? Simon made it clear in his presentation that APAC is very diverse and you can't have one strategy for the whole region. You should take in consideration the diversity of each country and how they engage with different brands. But the most important takeaway is that a broad mix of online and offline media is still the optimal approach to marketing in Asia Pacific. In the presentation of Mastercard's APAC chief economist David Mann, he called attention to the world contribution growth, which is often driven by consumer spending and business investment. To put it into perspective, the US is still the largest economy in the world, but its contribution to world growth has been inferior to China for a while. In 2024, Mastercard's projections see China contributing 38.9%, while the US 23%. But he really calls attention to India. India's contribution global growth used to be around 6 or 7% 10 years ago, and Mastercard's projection for 2030 will be around 11%. If we look into even this year's growth rate, around 9% is the contribution coming from India's growth. He said that a lot of that comes from something called demographic dividend, which is the economic growth potential that can result from shifts in a population's age structure, and India has a lot of people joining the working age population within the next few years, which is something that many developed countries lack. Other presentations in the event were more specific to strategy, and there were a few I would like to share with you. Let's begin with Singapore's largest supermarket chain, FairPrice. The CEO, Vipul Chawla, joined the event virtually, and his talk titled "The Price of Being Fair," which is the same number of their book. By the way, if you have more books about brands and retailers, send them to me. I love them. Vipul shared a bit of the story of the retailer that came to life with the mission to control inflation in the 70s. FairPrice is a cooperative of the National Trades Union Congress. For me, the most interesting part of the conversation was when he talked about FairPrice Finance, which is their premium chain of supermarkets that came to life to supply the growing number of affluent customers in the country. Imagine that Singapore has a bigger GDP per capita than the United States. While they still cultivate the core mission of accessible pricing, they created a true experience within the store. And about 30% of its SKUs cannot be found in other brands of the group. Now, I wasn't satisfied with only hearing about it, and I went to the store. Once he finished the presentation, during the event's lunch break, I went to one of the stores in Clark Quay. In front of it says the Grocer Bar Food Hall. The woody interiors and smoothing jazz encourages shoppers to linger, but not only that. In their stores, you can actually hang out, and that is what the CEO points as the future of retail, providing services and experiences in store. They have a food hall with 6 restaurants to choose from. They also offer workshops and masterclasses, and they have a bar called the Grocer Bar, where you can meet your friends, drink wine, beer, and many options of cocktails, including the country's famous Singapore Sling. I know it may sound weird to some to imagine having a drink where you are shopping for groceries, but the atmosphere is really inviting, and they offer things like you pick and cook, where you can pick your beef or seafood in the supermarket and they cook it for you. While you wait, why not have a drink? While for me, this concept is revolutionary, as I have only seen something similar in the store in Germany, FairPrice Finance exists since 2007. And a fun fact about it is that one of their stores has even become a spot for wedding pictures. Another grocer that presented at NRF was the Pan Pacific International Holdings Corporation, which is the parent of the company Don Quixote in Japan or Don Don Donki in other countries. Ian Scott also went to this store, and he was doing some retail safaris around the country. And he has some very good remarks about it.
You can't visit there without talking about Don Don Donki, the craziest concept. The only time I've seen a store like that was in Tokyo called Don Quixote. And it was no surprise to find that Don Don Donki was created by the founder of Don Quixote. You know, there are these crazy stores that sell all sorts of stuff, you know, wide, huge range. You know, the categorization of product ignores the conventional rules. You can buy high-end luxury this, food that, silly games and toys. We both posted pictures of us wearing silly Mario hats, you know, which we found in the store as well. And the visual noise, they deliberately make it a maze and difficult to navigate. You know, narrow aisles, high stock density. You're walking around and you can't see what's around the next corner. And then they have a song.
Don 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 Donki, Don Don Donki. I'm in paradise, it's a wonderful place for me.
This song has been attributed to the company's success as nobody can ever forget it. It plays over and over again while you're shopping and has been the topic of several videos on TikTok and case studies. It's called Miracle Shopping, and you can find it on Spotify, but consider a warning that it will stick to your mind. Like FairPrice Finance, Don Don Donki also has a food hall and a bar, but they are fun within chaos.
The sense of fun comes across. You know, as a retailer, they don't take themselves too seriously. And you come in and you just go, whoa, what is this? And you start to smile. And then you go around the corner and go, oh, they sell this as well. And what about that? You know, and you go downstairs and they have the food hall and the supermarket and the drinks area is Drunk Donki. They have that sense of humor and poke fun at themselves at the same time.
According to the CEO, Naoki Yoshida, who sat down on stage with Ryf, who is also a brand's fan and was wearing a Don Don Donki t-shirt, their success was due to the company's ability to adapt to changing consumer preferences. They are the 4th largest retailer in Japan, and he proudly says the company will stay committed to brick-and-mortar stores, but that they have seen remarkable growth in its mobile channel, expanding from 3 to 14 million users after they introduced a review feature in the app, which has also allowed consumers to provide feedback and help the company make improvements. If you go to the store, you can actually have the QR code near the product and see the reviews other customers left. Something that is interesting is that their conversation touched inflation, and that continues to be the question coming from investors. Japan now has an inflation rate below 3%, but Naoki seems very optimistic about it. As you may know, Japan has had deflation for over a decade, and he said that in a deflationary state, the market becomes a battleground for low prices, leaving little room for innovation or differentiation, while inflation provides opportunities to offer a variety of options to consumers. The event brought a variety of topics, including product innovation featuring the transformation of two brands, the Australian Oroton and the Thai Jim Thompson. Both had the same problem. They were traditional and well-known, but their products weren't considered fashionable anymore. Jim Thompson is a brand that sells products made with Thai silk, and on their transformation, they adapted the products to local preferences and created reasons for customers to engage with the brand, like the Jim Thompson House in Bangkok, which offers attractions, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and shopping. He points out that it's not just a store, it is a destination. And he's right. You can find the flagship being featured on TripAdvisor, TikTok, YouTube as the new destination in Thailand as something that you have to do while you're there. And an interesting character for the brand is the one who created it, the one and only Jim Thompson, who mysteriously disappeared in 1967. And now it is in the brand's plan to have a documentary about it. So, storytelling, experience, and product innovation were the best to bring the brand back to consumers' closet. Those were also the bets made by the Australian brand Oroton, according to CEO Jennifer Child. The turnaround was focused on revitalizing the product line while preserving the brand's legacy of quality, story, and emotion. They were initially a women's bags brand and now offer apparel and jewelry as well. Their stores now are warm and feel like you are entering somebody's home. Their digital experience has been enhanced as they are focused on D2C. They now also offer repair services and resale options. If you're really paying attention to everything that has been talked about, you notice experience is the most important element for most brands, as many are adding new touch points like flagship stores, services, and community. And that has been noticed by luxury brands from the LVMH group. Laurent Boudevezi, president of Moet Hennessy Asia Pacific, started the presentation by talking about the heritage of the brand to later say they are no longer just in the business of selling bottles of wine and spirits. The brand has shifted its focus to selling exceptional luxury experiences, which made them evolve from the traditional wholesale to create their own retail spaces like the new store in Shanghai, or they're leveraging the travel retail in airports. And on a different experience level, there is one Japanese fashion brand that has been present in many people's lives in the West that leverages information and technology to provide easy experiences. Can you guess which one? Yes, I'm talking about Uniqlo. I asked Ian Scott what makes the brand so unique.
I think the product design is universal. It's not extreme in its design or content. So I know a lot of people that just buy their underwear and their socks and their base layers from there because they know that what they're going to get is good quality and good value. So I think it has that universal, unoffensive appeal from a design point of view. Their stores are some of the best at communicating features and benefits and upgrading and upselling from a basic to a medium to a high-end variant. Their stores are full of messaging, but the messaging is all in the right place at the right time, saying the right thing at that part of the customer journey.
Takahiro Tambara, the CIO of Uniqlo's parent company, Fast Retailing, shared that information is key for the business, and that can mean any type of information, including the voice of consumers and the voice of the market. He pointed out that they started their business transformation around 7 or 8 years ago, and that RFID technology was crucial for it. RFID stands for Radio Frequency Identification. It is a technology that uses radio waves to identify tagged objects. That gives the retailer inventory and supply chain visibility. They can easily know that there are 3 black dresses size S in a store A, for example. That was the initial purpose of the technology, but the innovation began again when it started being used for checkout. If you go now to a Uniqlo store, you can do an easy self-checkout, as Ian describes.
Checkout should be an unnecessary friction. I always say, why make it difficult for your customer to give you money? It's crazier when you've done all the work to persuade them to come in and buy in the first place. The RFID checkout is wonderful because you can just grab armfuls of clothing, you just drop it in a bin, and it scans all the RFID. So it's easy to understand as a piece of technology. Some self-checkout technology, there can be a barrier to engagement because a lot of customers will go, I don't know, or I don't want to invest time to learn, I just want to pay and go. Whereas this is easy to do. And again, it's another example of Uniqlo's very clear communication. If you come to checkout with Uniqlo for the first time, the signage, it's almost like IKEA assembly instructions, very clear, visual, easy to and quick to understand. So I think that's where Uniqlo make it work really, really well. Even for a technophobe or someone in a rush, you can turn up there and go, right, I know what I need to do. And you've actually made it easier as a result. So 5 seconds to understand, 20 seconds to do and I'm out the door, which is quicker than someone literally taking them out of my hands and doing conventional payments. So I think that's where it works.
Takahiro Tambara said this seamless process helps the staff as it also reduces lines and checkout time, allowing employees to focus on customer service instead of the checkout process. This innovation was so smart that many other brands and retailers like Zara, Decathlon, and H&M are also investing in it. At NRF Innovation Lab, there were 3 technologies that really caught my attention. One of them is what I believe will be the next use case for RFID technology, which works for planogram and shelf management. It was presented by the Canadian company Optimum Retailing, and it basically shows shelf availability of products. No need for cameras or robots. Retailers can have real-time visibility of what is happening on the shelf. Another one that I found fascinating, really, is Wavy. They created a small device that captures consumers' insights in front of the shelf. They call it real-time customer satisfaction analytics. So retailers can track if customers are happy or sad with what they're seeing. And there's no camera, it's just sensor. And probably my favorite one is the South Korean technology VCAT AI, which helps marketing teams to create assets from the URL of products. You basically copy and paste the URL of a specific product page, and their technology generates the assets, the marketing assets, in seconds, saving a lot of time of your team. All the links are in the episode notes. Overall, it was an incredible event. Probably the first I've been to with excellent Wi-Fi connection, a space to work and meet with new partners throughout the event. I confess I did miss more Chinese technologies and more sessions about India, as it has such an important growth driver in the region. But next year is already scheduled, and we'll see each other again on June 3rd to June 5th of 2025. And I cannot wait.
I think we'll be back here bigger and better than ever, because one of the things that's been clearly obvious for me is just the warmth of this region. People have been enthusiastic with their time, with their energy, with their thoughts, with their enabling. So our sponsors, even things like sponsors have said, we're sponsoring, but what else can we do to make this a success? And I've not seen that in other things that I've done around the region. So it's been a really both head and heart, a fantastic experience. For me, if in 2 years' time, a Malaysian retailer meets an Australian retailer and they open 100 new retail doors in each other's markets through a partnership, and we were part of that.
Yeah, that's off.
That's cool, right? And you can't expand around the region without having partners in each market. And if we can enable that, that's really special.
During the event, I interviewed 3 incredible retailers from APAC, so you can expect more global content coming to OFFBounds. You'll hear from the Australian Nicole Sheffield. She's the Managing Director of Wesfarmers One Digital. You also meet Yuan, who's the Chief Merchandising and Marketing Officer of Aeon Malaysia, and the incredible Toru Koyama, who is the CIO and CDO of A2O Retailing, one of Japan's largest retailers. So don't forget to subscribe to the show. My key takeaways from my week in Singapore is that we are in the era of experiences. And the reason we can't stop talking about the country's airports, malls, supermarkets, and stores is because they caused incredible emotions in us, consumers. Do you have any other brand experience that made you feel this way? Let me know. You can reach out to us in the comments, on social media, or send us an email to ideas@offbounds.tv. See you next Tuesday.